Hello, one and all, and welcome to Office Hours, where we answer your media and tech-related production questions every single day. Courtney Gooden in Los Angeles is our reader today. What's the first question, Courtney?
Thank you, Bill. First up is a guy named Guy Cochran. I don't know if he's throwing this to himself. In Seattle, Washington, he says, what is a piece of gear that you bought thinking, yeah, I definitely need this, but then never used it even once?
An Ouroboros question. The snake is consuming its own tail. Guy, dive in.
I borrowed this question from the freelance sound community on Facebook group. It was very active this morning with all of these little widgets that people had bought over the years. And I thought that's a good question for office hours. And I was wondering what other people had. As I looked around my room, I realized that mine would probably be this NTech DMX box, DMX to Ethernet, which I have looked at the manual a couple times. And I have some DMX lights, but it's way more complicated, or maybe I'm just making it more complicated than it has to be. Somebody like Mickey in After Hours or Talalik will probably just be like, yeah, just plug that in, download the drivers and plug that in and start dimming and changing colors on your lights. But it's one of the things that I bought along with the other counterpart, the DMX King little USB to DMX. I have two of them, and at both times I thought I could control all my lights and lights on stage or lights in production, and I never got it working.
Oh, dear. Courtney Gooden.
Yeah, when I first started doing this show, I bought one of these monitors that is quad input called an ATEM. I don't know if it was the C-Tech and it was 1080p, not 4K, but this idea has 4 HDMI inputs and loop-through HDMI outputs. And they made them for the first ATEM minis that didn't have a multi-view on them. So then the ATEM Mini Pro came out, and I bought that, and this has been sitting on the shelf, that quad input and quad output, and you can select the inputs HDMI monitor ever since. So I just had to move it from one storeroom to another, and if anyone wants to take it off my hands.
Alex.
I have an ICANN teleprompter that I bought, like a 12-inch, and it's still sitting in the box. Like, because I bought a couple different teleprompters and changing minds, and I was like, I'm going to send that back, and then I didn't send it back because I moved to a small rig teleprompter because it was going to be easier to rig onto a handheld or the shoulder-mounted camera. But I noticed it the other day because I was cleaning, and I was like, I didn't even take this out of, the tape is still on it. Like, it's not even like, I didn't even open it. Like, it just sat there because I was going to not open it because I was going to send it back. And then I didn't. That's what happens for me. The one thing that I thought was one thing to learn as a product person, when you listen to like what Guy was talking about, was this is why training is so important. Support materials are so important. Interface is so important. People think that I can just build the product and people will just use it. But that's not, like, what's missing for NTech is a QR code with a video and an easy-to-use piece of software. Bill, your mic's open, or somebody's mic's open.
Sorry.
But what's missing is that easy on-ramp that, and I think that the training oftentimes fills in for, and I think that I'm always paying attention to that because I built a lot of training for a lot of products. And it makes a huge difference in uptake. By the way, we are threatening to do a DMX class. so I wonder who we would do that with. So anyway, so stay tuned for that. But I do think that that's something that's hugely missing, is that you just need someone to help you get over the hump. And then once you get over the hump, you're off to the races. And then you're more likely to recommend it. You're more likely to talk about it. You're more likely to buy more. It's a huge lost opportunity for companies that don't expend enough in the training, support, on-ramping.
I had very few of those in my career, but one of them, the earliest one, was buying a barcode reading pen and thinking I'm going to organize all my equipment. Production was getting faster, so I kept losing track of things. I thought I was going to check everything out of the house and check everything back in. Stupidest idea I ever had. The other thing, though, is that my son had his phone go bad, so I ordered a new one. And then things just got crazy in that period of time. So I found the other day a brand new, still in shrink wrap, iPhone 11. If anybody wants it, it's been sitting in a closet in the corner for literally now 8 years or something like that. Next question.
Next one comes in from Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana. Roscoe asks, do you find animated racing graphs compelling or boring?
And Courtney, can you help us?
Well, the one he linked us to is this one. And if you've never seen what a racing graph is, this graph shows you something about stack flow over a period of time. So it is, if you launch it here, you can see they grow as the time progresses. So it shows you, it's kind of a three-dimensional graph time-wise, so you get to see how things evolve over a period of time. It makes the things look like kind of they're racing, but the ones that are on top are getting bigger, et cetera. This one takes way too long, and so I would have sped it up a little bit to make it a little less boring, and I would have made the topic of most used tags in Stack Overflow. That's never an interesting graph.
Ronnie Hofsoy.
Yeah, so if I have to choose between static bullet point on with white text on a black background, I take animated things any day. We're working together with one organization which is known to be very deep into statistics and really, really boring messages. And when they are initially coming to us with an idea for a production, it seems like a never-ending thing that goes beyond 5 hours. And when we start to massage on those, we tend to also address the graphics they have. Not unusual to have like 80 slides or something, and we say we can't do that, so we start to work with them. And this is one of the things that we've done with them. So this is animated. Let me start that animation. So that is animated with different types of, and then we have a setup on stage that make room for this, so that it seems to be kind of including in the, and we also have, let's see here, we have animated graphs, etc., just to bring a little bit more interest into the production and make it a little bit more less boring. So in that case, we always tend to work together with them and make sure that they have a graphic artist that is animating stuff. And this is just an example. We have a lot of more advanced examples where we use Blender, for instance, to animate cars on roads, and we use different type of languages to illustrate how processes can change and values and amount of stuff. And we also use other animation tools as well to
Alex?
increase the quality of the story.
My apologies. I jumped the gun there. Alex.
Yeah, I didn't know it was called a racing graph. I was like, what is that? I mean, it's something that I have to admit that if it's anywhere near something I'm interested in, I can't stop looking at it. So I do find it to be somewhat addicting. Like, for instance, this is different brands of cell phones, and so you see like in 1995. So and I find these to be fascinating. I think that you watch these, like, look here, you can see Nokia just dominating the entire. Everything. You see Samsung coming up, and you feel it like they're racing. It feels like they're racing, and so now I understand the racing graph, but it didn't occur to me. You see RIM. What I find interesting is like now you see RIM appear, and then it starts to go, and then Apple's released, and then all things change pretty quickly there. But I do find it to be a fascinating thing to watch. And now that I know what it is, I feel like I need to learn how to make one. There's of course, there's a whole bunch. There's like 20 tutorials if you do racing graph on YouTube about how to make a racing graph. And so now I feel like I need to know how to do that because it looks pretty cool.
Courtney?
Yes, but for conveying the information, I think they're very bad. Because if you're trying to do trend analysis, you're only watching a single moment in time. And once that moment passes, every frame, that moment is gone. You can't go back and look at it unless you scroll the video back and say, oh, look, on this date.
It might just be entertainment.
But with multiple line graph, where you see time on the bottom and then a vertical stack of all the lines for all the players. And you can see the trend analysis.
It's more fun
you
to watch.
Glance at it and go, oh, look, there was a year where Nokia
but that's no fun to look at.
Ahead of Apple.
That's no fun. That's no fun though. It's not fun. Like this is.
If you're that desperate for entertainment, I've got bad streaming series you should watch.
No, it's interesting because you get to see it. I think there's something about animating. The same thing with watching something either in slow motion or in hyperlapse is that when you see something or time lapse, when you see something in time lapse, a lot of times you see things when they're moving at speed, at a very rapid speed, you see things that you wouldn't see otherwise. Like there was this construction site that I did a time lapse of, and I noticed that the guy would constantly be I saw this guy walking back. You would never notice it in real time. The guy was walking back and forth to his toolbox, and if I realized that we calculated the time that he was losing, like I don't know, half an hour a day, just walking to his toolbox, and he could just move it. But it was just because there was one step in the way. So that's the kind of thing that I think that seeing it over time and seeing it moving is just a different kind of information.
Well, it's an interesting discussion in any case. Next question.
Next one comes in from New York City. David Brady asks, what would be the use case for electronic earbuds? And he gives a link.
And Guy Cochran's going to start us off here. Guy? Yeah,
I took a look at the link, and it turns out most of folks are using these for shooting. So I have a pair of the larger size, wrong. Let me jump over to here. This shows an assortment of the different types of best bang for the buck headphones with microphones that will suppress loud noises. So I think these kind of headphones are great for shooters, especially if they want the situational awareness, but when the loud pop hits, it doesn't completely overwhelm your eardrum. So the ones that I use, I can still hear, especially when we go up to the mountains. I can still hear if somebody's coming down the path. I can hear animals because you can turn up or turn down the amount of volume that's coming in from the ambience. But then when the pop happens, it doesn't overwhelm your ears. And if you just use regular earplugs, you don't have that situational awareness. So yeah, $300-$400 for these. It's a lot of money, but for those that are doing this stuff for competition, that's who these are really geared towards. I can't see us using these in production, but maybe there is a use case there.
Courtney Gooden?
Yeah, shooting, I imagine that's probably what they're invented for. But I can think of other jobs where it might come in handy if you're, let's say, operating a table saw or something where you want to have protection on your ears every time you pull the trigger on that table saw or cutoff saw, and you don't want to be taking plugs in and out of your ears all day long, causing damage to the inside of your ears. You just put these in and tap and turn them on and do your thing, and then tap, turn them off, and then people can come up and talk to you without having to take anything in and out of your ear constantly. Also, the people that work on jetways at the airport, with the flashlights, parking the jets as they come up to their terminal. Yeah, that's good for them too. That one way they don't have to take them on and off, in and out of the ear constantly, and yet they can talk to people as soon as the engines go off.
Alex?
Yeah, it definitely looks like impulse. And I have to say, I've owned a lot of stuff from Auto. I probably would be hesitant to spend $500 on an Auto-built device. Maybe they shift gears at some point, but their lower-cost stuff is not amazing. So I think that would be the challenge that I would have is working with some of the less costly brand stuff that comes from Auto. I don't know if I'd spend $500 on an Auto earpiece.
If you've been around office hours for any length of time, our entire show is driven by your questions, and it's really important if you want to get in the system and vote those questions. That's how we determine what we get to first and what we spend the most amount of time on. It's really simple. All you have to do is go to officehours.global/join. We'll send you an email within a day or two, and once you've done that, you can ask and vote on, which is very important, the show's questions and our community. That's officehours.global/join. Next question.
Next one comes in from Mathieu Lecomte in Oakland. He says, I have a friend with a cochlear implant, and he wants to know how to monitor audio and can't really use headphones. Is there a trustworthy visual method?
Ronnie Hofstoy is going to give us some thoughts. Ronnie?
Yeah, so we use those type of visual tools all the time. When you are in front of house in a big concert where the sound pressure is kind of made before your eyes. You can't exactly hear whatever you're doing, even if you use headphones to listen into each channel. So we use something called Smart, which is a set of tools, and there are others as well. This is just what we use, where you can actually just see visually what is happening in front of you, and you have many different ways of viewing the audio. And of course, if you don't have these type of displays on your sound mixer, Smart or similar software will be a great tool to help you visualize how things is actually sounding. Of course, there is a training to be able to read those graphs correctly, and we use it for both SPL, so sound pressure level, to be sure that we do not go beyond the pressure, sound pressure that is intended for that specific venue. And we use it to see the spread of frequency energy from the bass low end area through the mids and up to the high end and even beyond for those that are interested in that. And we use it extensively where there is a high need for that. But there are also other solutions that are, depending on what type of implant this person have. Sometimes the newer models have Bluetooth connectivity to your phone, which is also able to be used as a client for different assistive listening solutions, for instance, from Sennheiser and others that are providing a digital solution for this. So there are other solutions as well, but visually I would be talking warm about Smart.
Alex Lindsay.
Yeah, we have Smart as well, and Smart is amazing. We usually use it for some deeper analyzation on a day-to-day basis across all of our machines. We can't afford to put it on all of them, so we use another program called Spectre on the Mac to do this. And so this is what Spectre looks like. Kind of, you can see it all the way along this. This was four different shows, and each one of these has, you'll see two instances of it, and that is, this is what's going into the stream. This is what is actually being, this is what's actually being delivered. And maybe I have another, let's see if I have another picture of that here real quick here. Let's see if I can, there we go. So here you can see it a little bit closer up. So so what we have here is, of course, we have our waveform. We mostly put that there. We don't really use that much, but we, it's easier for people to understand because they've seen it before. So we say, hey, see, that's really small. It needs to be bigger. So that's usually what we do. Or if it gets cut off, you kind of see it. But we don't use this one. We use this one mostly for clients. This one is really important because this is a level history. And you can see where it's green is where it's peaking, and it's right in where we want it to be. So you can see all the green, and we can set that in Spectre. So say when it's at this level, turn green. When it's at this level, turn purple. When it's at this level, turn yellow. When it's at this level, turn red. And so we can see that. And as long as we see a lot of green, we're pretty happy with it. And when we're looking at it, of course, levels here. This is a spectrogram and here and a spectrograph here. And these tell us, this is basically like the cross-section of this, right? If you were slicing this, you would get that. And what these are useful for is if we get any kind of line buzz, we can just look over and see a line going across it. And that means I don't have to hear the buzz. I can see the buzz as it's going through there. So that's useful for us. This is a laser zoom meter, which tells us whether the polarity is correct in what's going on there. If this turns sideways, it will tell us that we've got a problem. If it's wide open, we have stereo. If it's perfectly straight up and down, we have mono. So that tells us what's going on with and if it can lean one way or the other if there's too much weight on one side or the other a channel. So this does not replace a highly skilled operator listening to the audio and making decisions about what sounds good and doesn't sound good. But what it does do is when we have a whole bunch of these, we can look over and get a pretty clear idea. Like as soon as someone's listening to it, we can see that it's relatively in the ballpark of what we're doing. So that could help, but you still need to have somebody listening to it.
Courtney?
Yeah, I was going to mention the Lissajou display, which, I just stumbled across with an old Army surplus oscilloscope that I had many years ago, and I figured out how to do it because you have an X and a Y input. You have an XY display. So rather than use the scanning for the oscilloscope, I feed a left channel into the X, and then a Y channel inverted in polarity out of a stereo signal into the one horizontal and inverted, and then you see this dancing 3D image, and the size determined by the loudness of the two channels, and the difference spins it around, flips it up. It's an amazing little display. You could put that on the oscilloscope behind you. There's also
Courtney's still frustrated. He gave me an oscilloscope, and then I just don't have a power cable for it. It sits there, and he's like, I'm gonna. It's now a project. By the end of May, I'll have this thing. You'll see the little thing bouncing back there when I talk.
Listen, you.
Yeah.
I was going to mention another piece of software that is free that I've used it on TV shows and stuff for sonic visualization, and it's called a Sonic Visualizer. It's open source, and you can download it, and it does a lot of the things that Alex was talking about, all the different types of frequency analysis display, and it's real time, and pipe audio into it and see the display in real time. So that's a very handy thing to have as well, and it's free to download.
Ronnie Hofsoy, you wanted to come back in?
Yeah, just remember when I was reading through the chat, we are also using a lot of this tool, which is called Julian, which is a really easy software to start using. You can even run it on your iPads, and you can have it running on your computers. And it also have a time tracker, so you can see the last 10 minutes, 30 minutes, etc. And you can have multiple of these, and they even have a free version. So if you don't want to use a lot of money, you can have basic functionality just for free. So Julian is a really nice tool as well.
I like Mickey's comment in the chat. Mickey said, visual representations of sound can only provide objective information. Subjective or creative decisions cannot be made reliably with meters. And that resonated a little with me because I do so much work now, and I'm trying to go back and study some of the old audiobooks that I think are really great. I can see the levels and things like that, but I can't see that thing about, wow, that person really nailed this character and brought it alive. So it's both need to be there.
I will say that objectively being able to show someone that their levels are too low, that's the number one thing that we have to do, is that we have to show somebody, hey, you're not giving me enough, Right. So that's usually the thing that, and being able to see some of those, like, I do not do a show without what you're seeing here, so without, I can listen to it, but I want to be able to, the problem with a lot of things is when you're talking to clients or partners, that you have to be able to point to something and say, this is wrong. And if it's subjective, you get stuck in this kind of argument.
Yeah, I'd never argue that. Knowing what's wrong is objectively job one. If there's something wrong, you have to fix it. I'm talking about that next level where you're trying to figure out what's right. And what's right is the subjective part of it. Anyway, it's an interesting discussion. Thank you for the question. Let's go to our next question.
Next one comes in from someone named Kent in Madison, Ohio. Kent asks, when getting into a small and medium events, what size video hub would you recommend getting? Thanks.
Ronnie Hofsoy is going to start us off here. Ronnie?
It depends. It depends on so many things. If it's a multi-venue or if it's a single venue, are you having a lot of cameras? Are you having multiple inputs? And do you need to go to different type of displays? And are you streaming? So there is too many unknown variables to be able to answer this. Sometimes we just bring our 1MEs, which has 6 outputs plus multi-view. 10 inputs, 6 outputs, that's everything in the switcher. If I was to increase that, I would probably bring a bigger switcher, or if we are using multi-rooms or different, or sometimes we have venues that can be divided half of the day and open up and use the whole floor the rest of the day. We tend to have to have a bigger set of inputs, and then we typically would be needing a 20 by 20. I'm not going to kind of just say that Blackmagic is the answer to this, but they have kind of budget-friendly hubs that can help you out. If I was going to buy a new one this year, I would probably go with a 40x40 because we have up to 10 cameras coming in, and we have multiple machines with different type of content. We have from our Zoom ISO machine, we have 8 outputs coming out. So, the number of inputs and outputs is increasing. And we have a saying here in office hours: if you're thinking of buying a 20x20, you should just get a 40x40 at the purchase time. So you never have enough inputs and outputs.
Alex Lindsay.
I have gotten 20x20s in the past, and as Ronnie said, I got them like, oh, this will be all I need. It's a 40x40. Like if you're getting started, small, medium, just get a 40x40. You'll grow right into it. Routers are like bags. You will just learn how to fill them up. When you have a 40x40, you'll just keep on adding routes because you'll be like, oh, I can add another monitor over here. I can do this over here. I can do that over there. So I would highly recommend. I wouldn't go crazy and go more than that to start with. But I think a 40x40, if you get a 20x20, it becomes a little like tool, like a little toy that you use here and there, unless you're only doing like a 3-camera shoot ever with a couple things. But even then, you're gonna hit that ceiling really hard. 40x40s are the place to start, in my opinion.
Next question.
Next one comes in from Paul Vault, who's in Austin, Texas. Says the Insta360 Link, Insta360 Flow 2 webcams constitute an effective mobile webcam solution. What would you add to these in a kit in terms of lights, microphone, headsets, monitor, and mini-sized computer for a hotel room or Airbnb?
Guy Cochran's going to start us off here. Guy?
Well, when traveling, the meetings that you go into that you really want to look your best and that matter, the first thing is the internet, just how solid of a connection. So I'm always checking the back of the TV to see if I can grab the Cat 5 or Cat 6 cable out of the back and then get good internet. So that's number one, because whether or not you come across as a garbled mess because you're using Wi-Fi or your cell phone will dictate the rest of the pieces of the puzzle. Here's an example of a hotel. I think this was an Airbnb in San Jose where I did office hours, where this is 2 MT Pros from Aperture, and the Aperture MT Pros come with this little tripod. So you can see in this setup here, I've got 2, one on the side, so a key and a fill. I've got the Insta360, and then I tapped into the TV that was in the hotel room, so that became my second display, so I could see the rest of the panel. And then I lined up the host with the visual of where my eye line is. And this is where I wish I had a telestrator. So you could see my eye line looks directly at the host. So as I'm talking to the host, they are behind that camera. So now I'm looking at them dead in the eye. It's a little trick that you can use if you can line up. Like I've moved the furniture around in this room so that, and this is what you'll see me do if you ever watch me do this behind the scenes. I'll use chairs to clamp onto. So like my microphone is a Rode Video Mic NTG. The reason why I like this one is because I can clamp it. It's got a 3/8 mount, and then I could use some of these triad orbit mounts with all these different clamps that I can disconnect and put different things on. But in this case, I didn't bring the stand. I grab whatever I can, whether it be an ironing board, whatever's in the hotel room, I'm grabbing on, and I'm using these clamps. So in my backpack is a bunch of these triad orbits, and I can mix and match to make things go the way that I want them to go. Let me look behind the scenes if there's anything else. So we got lighting, we got microphone, we got camera, and then we got display. You can see I do have another display in case I wasn't able to tap into the hotel's display. I do carry around this 17-inch 4K monitor that is a portable monitor that runs off a USB-C. And then for in-ears, I just got those cheap, what do they call these, KS audios? I can't remember the model, but it's popular here in office hours. They're just like $50 or something, but that's it. And then an extension cable to be able to run it back into the NTG. So that's the cool thing about this NTG. It is a USB mic with a headphone out, so you can hear yourself. It acts as a USB device. So $249 for the Rode, and that's the pieces of my puzzle.
Ronnie Hofsaway.
Yeah, so big question, and there is probably 1,000 answers to this. But one of the things that I always bring with me is a version of the Shure MV series microphone. This is the MV7 Plus, I think, with the new USB-C plug at the back. The thing with these is that they are both a microphone of pretty high quality. It's a dynamic microphone which gives you good sound and not too much room sound, and it has a built-in interface for headphones. So if you're just having it in front of you, you can use a short IEM. This is the Sennheiser 100 or 300, I think, which is then just plugged in and make it low profile in your ear, so that doesn't bother anyone watching you. And be sure to have headphones. Don't use a speaker on your computer. Another thing that if you're in a hotel room and you always will get into trouble with lights, we have these small aperture. These are the ALMC. We have loads of these in our rental department. So I just pick a few of those with me. They are really lightweight and they are small. Of course, they are really small, but put them on some small mounts. And for mounting, small rig has a lot of stuff. You need some magic arms, either a short one like the one guy already shown, or you can use. They have a kind of alligator clamp with a pretty high, two pretty long ones that are able to get your camera up high, and then you just add a small clamp on both sides under the camera, and you can have these lights in front of you and adjust the height, and of course you can adjust the colors if you need to have it in the back of you, and that is kind of the base kit. So in-ears, a good microphone, some small lights, and some cleverly mounting clamps, and of course a good machine. You should never leave home without a MacBook Pro M4.
If you have questions that have come up while you're watching the show, you can get them in the quickest way by typing into any browser, askofficehours.global. Type that into a web browser. It'll take you to the same place that the QR code I just tossed up on the screen will take you. That's askofficehours.global. And if you use that, you can get into the back end real quick and get a question in pretty quick order. So that's kind of the fastest and simplest way. Those questions are also persistent, so they can come back in the next show as we go along. So askofficehours.global to submit your questions in real time. Next question.
Okay, next question comes from Tony Mobley in Noonan, Georgia. Tony asks, Alex, please share your recent Mid-Journey experiences.
All right. What I've been playing with is playing with really, they have this new thing called omni-reference, which you can reference somebody or something, and it gets pretty accurate pretty quickly. So, for instance, there is we were talking about this, I think, over the weekend. So, I don't know if I have let's see if I can, I don't know if I can show a full-sized version of it. But what you'll see here is there's a little one here. This is an old picture of me that I tend to use for my thing. It's just a picture my sister took a long time ago. Anyway, so I use this image as a basis and then start to tell it, like, use this image, and what you end up with is just, lots of, whatever the scene is. You have to take a lot of, but here's like me traveling, or that version, fishing. Now it's not always accurate either. So it's, but it'll put that version in. So to give you a sense of what that looks like, let's see here. So I also can do things like, if you accidentally put Abraham Lincoln and you in the same reference, you end up with something that's half between the two.
Abraham Lindsay.
Abraham Lindsay, yes, exactly. So it's kind of a funny thing. Let's try this. So, Guy, are you willing to play along?
Sure, let's play.
Okay, take your glasses off. And I'm gonna take a picture of Guy. All right. All right. So now I took a picture of Guy, and what I'm gonna do, let's see here, is I gotta find that picture now. Hold on.
Sometimes our
This is
biggest
the arts and
challenge is
crafts
something's on the
version.
desktop. Where
I
is
know,
it?
exactly. So, all right. So what I'm going to do here is I have this here, and I'm going to basically say, okay, I want to have a reference here. So I'm going to take that screenshot that I took of Guy, and I'm going to drop it into the Omni reference here. So it's loading it in. There it is. Now I have it turned up pretty high. This is the strength of how accurate I want it to be. We'll give it a little bit of room here. And then we'll say, how about as a samurai, warrior, warrior in battle. Let's see, in style of National Geographic. I can't type today. It's hard because I have to look in this weird way. Geographic. And then I usually give it something like A7S2 28 millimeter prime. I do that. It does make a difference. Like it goes, oh, okay, you want a camera. Like you want something photoreal. So anyway, so we'll give that, we'll see what we have here. So I've got it set to raw, and stylization is kind of low. Variety is kind of low. That makes it so it's going to try to hit a smaller mark. And we will hit go. So here we'll see what happens. And I have no idea. Sometimes it will not do anything near what we want, but hopefully this will be an impressive thing that we did live cooking here. But we'll see here. Let's see. Well, we've got the suits at least. I don't know if it's in battle. No, I think it's going to come out. I don't know if he's in battle.
I don't know if the samurai and warriors had screens behind him.
Yeah, but it's
it's sci-fi.
It's
you can do anything
because
you
it
want.
grabbed onto the screens. That's the funny thing. Look! You got this is you got to dress up like this sometime. I'm just saying. Like so. But here's I think I need to send you that one.
I love it.
So I'm gonna send you that one. Oh, so anyway, anyway,
Carry, yes.
but it's pretty.
Mafumi Cochran there. I love it.
But you can go in here and go. Let's see. What else should we have Guy do?
I want to decode the Chinese characters behind him.
Exactly.
Somebody get.
Oh yeah, it might be. Oh, I don't know what they're saying back there. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, but that's let's say this is kind of a standing.
They say like and subscribe.
Yeah. Standing.
It's an ad.
Standing in a 15th century. Paris street market. How about that? Market. Shouldn't, if I capitalize street, it'll do something weird. So let's try that. And this is set to fast, not turbo. Turbo would do it almost instantly, but it's very expensive for me. So, not so much expensive; it just uses up my credits. And
it's fascinating to watch it do essentially artist passes. Putting in. But tones
you'll see
in
that
the background.
It kind of goes everywhere. Like this one did. It didn't turn the guy into a girl. I didn't see that coming. Yeah. This one didn't go as well. Because I forgot. Here's the funny thing: I forgot to put the reference in. So this is what it does without the reference, right? So I'll do this again, but we'll put Guy into the Omni reference. This is a really good example there. So I'll put it in, and so this is what I got when I just threw something in. So somebody standing in a. It didn't really go back to the fifth. This one maybe kind of 15th century, not really. He's wearing a different coat. But anyway, so we'll try this again.
The other one is like a scene from.
I was like, well, how is this connected to Guy? I was like, this whole thing is a farce. But no, it's hopefully we'll get something here. So now this hopefully, but this gives you a sense. So this is the exact same prompt, but with the Omni reference being calculated into it. So now you can see it's kind of using that angle there, and you can give it multiple, up to 3, I think, different pictures of the same person to do this. So it hasn't really gotten the 15th century thing, but it has gotten the the market part, because I could probably say period close. It's really decided that you need ponytails,
and
but on either side, yeah.
Looks like you're hanging out in Greenwich Village.
Yeah, some of these don't look quite as much. They don't match, but you can see how you could build a. I mean, you get very clear that you could build a travel log that has nothing that you never leave. Like you could build something that with enough work here you could definitely do that. So anyway, that's what I've been playing with. That's what's called omni-reference. It's new in version 7. There's a bunch of limitations once you do it. You can't do a lot of the editing that you've done in the past, but it's a lot of fun. And I think that especially where I see it coming in, a lot of times we're doing pitches of this person will be here, and then they'll be here, and then they'll be here, and I can see us being able to grab a couple images of an executive or an actor or something, and then do digital references, not to use in the final piece, but as part of the pitch or as part of the storyboards. Because you could do this in. Let's try this one more time. Because if we do things like in the style of, you can change this to Pixar. Right? Hit go. And, this is going to go a different direction. Let's see what it does here.
Now, will Pixar be in conflict with photorealistic?
Yeah, I took it out. I took the photoreal out.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
and
good.
So I just replaced it with Pixar. But I could also, while this one's working, oftentimes I go a lot faster than I'm doing lots of different ones at the same time. But in the style of a storyboard. So we'll get that one rendering. Well, I don't know. I don't know what it did there. It might be that I have it set up. I set the...
Not very Pixar-ish.
It doesn't look very Pixar. Usually it does Pixar pretty well.
He put a Disney logo on his shirt.
I know. I was like, here, have a Disney logo.
There you go. That'll the style of Pixar.
That was $60 shirt.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. It seems to be running. It might be just that it's using. I don't know. It's not doing that very well. So we'll have to play with that a little bit. Anyway, there you go. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. It's like working with a kind of a nutty uncle. Like you're like, how about this? And they're like that, and you're like, that's amazing. Let's do it again. No.
It's a constantly emerging technology being refined. Think about when we all first saw Midjourney, we were astonished at what it did, but it can do nothing like it can do now. I mean, it really has evolved a massive amount.
I mean, what's funny is I think that it's because I have the look turned up really high, because this one has Guy there, and it's a great shirt, by the way, Guy. I think that you should think about that.
Right.
The very
shirt.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a little bit of storyboardy out here.
It's a little Seinfeld puffy shirt, though. I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
all right, let's go on to the next question.
That's your Midjourney adventure today.
Great, that was fun. Next question.
From Danny Grizzly in Longview, Texas. It says, I spent a day with a university professor as he worked on a documentary. This is a 10-year project, now in year 5. I was astounded that he was conducting interviews with nothing but an iPhone. How low can production values go?
Courtney, your thoughts?
Oh. Well, I'd be surprised if he was not using an external microphone into that iPhone. The iPhone, for years, documentaries were shot on 16 millimeter film, especially multi-year documentaries that had to cover time because the media really doesn't change that much. Film emulsions get a little better over 10 years. iPhones change pretty drastically. The cameras get a lot better over years. Maybe he's using the same iPhone over a period of 10 years. That would be disappointing. But the resolution on that iPhone is probably a lot better than your average 16 millimeter processed film by the time it gets to be printed 3 generations down. So no, I'm not astonished at how low production values can go. That actually probably would be pretty good production values. It gives you a widescreen image. As long as he, mics up the person with a high quality microphone, And rather than using the built-in microphones, I could see it being produced as long as the format that he's saving it in is fairly high quality rather than H.264. It could be good.
Alex?
We've seen Apple build keynotes and other people build some pretty complicated things. If they're just using the iPhone raw and they don't have any mics or lights or anything else, that can be pretty hard to watch. Mickey has said what we've said here quite often: content is easy to produce, easy to watch, and rarely both. And so I think that's the challenge. I think if I was going to work on something for 10 years, I might get something better. A lot of these tools have gotten relatively inexpensive. Something like like the Blackmagic 6K is what we've used for a lot of documentary style things, and we've done some very high quality shooting with those. But it is more work and it is bigger and it has a bunch of other things that you have to worry about, and it produces a lot heavier content. So there is a certain argument that some of this content wouldn't get captured if you used anything more than the phone. So I think that's the side of, there is a side of it of you don't have the money, but just go ahead and start doing it. The advantage, especially on a 10-year project of an iPhone, is that it's in your pocket all the time. So if you're capturing something, you can quickly set something up and just shoot it. And so there's a whole bunch of things that you may not have gotten if you were trying to do something more in depth. I will say that I could probably shoot a documentary that looked pretty close to a regular documentary with many documentaries I've seen with an iPhone 15. I think before that it would have been a little harder, but with an iPhone 15 with an external drive, shooting in log, that kind of thing, well lit and everything, and well framed, I think I could do actually a pretty good job. You're not going to get the same depth of field, which I think is really important for interviews, but you would be able to do that. But I think that what I also have with that rig is a Mix Pre 3 with a good mic and a good, that type of thing feeding into it.
Courtney, you wanted to come back in?
Yeah, and I'm amazed these days that, some people are using the same ones constantly. When they take this video shot on their iPhone and they add that plug-in in the video in post-production that makes it look like a film camera that's out of registration and adds dirt and noise and a giant sprocket hole on the left, to make it look like it was shot on Super 8 film in the 50s. That annoys me. But there are things you can take modern day video and add a film look to it, a realistic film look to it, where it'll add grain and add take the color balance and move it to one that is more film-like, and it may make it look more like a documentary shot over a period of years, and you could change that film look as you go back in time to the earliest stuff shot earlier.
The worst thing I ever shot on was VHS. In my early camcorder adventures, I had a little tiny tethered camera to a VHS deck, and it produced a pretty iffy image. However, I don't know why, but during that discussion, I was thinking, boy, my mom lived to be 100. What I would give to have a VHS tape of her at 17 talking about her life at that point. At some point in a documentary, it's not about the image quality. It's about that look at history, that peer down to something that has been forgotten or misremembered, and to see it again. So I'm on both sides. I appreciate quality and I strive for it whenever I can. But in some cases, and I think documentaries are one of them, having something is way better than having something perfect, in my opinion. Alex, you wanted to touch base?
Yeah, I was going to say, on underline, there are definitely some photos I've taken with my phone that were kind of off the cuff, not particularly high quality, that are some of my favorite photos of my family. So you do want to, it does get back into the best camera you have is the one that's in your pocket or the one that you have at that moment. So I see it, and I definitely see how you could capture a lot of things and turn them into a documentary. From a phone. If I was going to do it for that long, I would just make sure I had a kit around it, and I don't know if he's doing that or not.
Yeah, fair points. Next question.
Next one comes in from Bristol, Wisconsin. Chuck Swan wants to know, our old Sony FS7m2 uses XQD cards. Nikon's D500 has an XQD card slot, can now use the Compact Flash Express B cards in that slot after a firmware update. While not officially supported, has anyone tried a CFExpress B card in an FS7m2?
Oh, Alex raised his hand. Alex, what do you got?
I haven't used it. I have to admit, I'm not super excited about Sony's internal saving process for most of these smaller cameras. And so as a result, I tend to always have an external recorder. So I'm using either a Blackmagic camera assist, an Atomos monitor, or HyperDex. But oftentimes Atomos, I think, is the one that kind of works the best with a lot of the Sony stuff. But I tend to want to grab that footage on an external recorder that I can record, to be honest, in ProRes. Like I don't really do production without ProRes or RAW.
Next question.
Next one comes in from Craig Kadoki in Toronto, Canada. She says, new DJI drone coming. Looks like a rotating lens on the camera. And he has a link there.
And Courtney's going to help us out. Courtney?
Well, I went to the link, and it's not a drone. It's a new gimbal, the DJI RS4 Mini, which holds a phone or you can put a phone or a DSLR into it. And apparently they've added a full 360-degree roll to it so that you can roll the camera other than just stabilize the horizon, apparently. It adds the ability to roll 360 in it. So it looks interesting. There you saw it roll 360 there. We'll see.
There's a YouTube link, I understand, in the Q&A if you want to check it out. Ronnie, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, so the link has taken us to a rumor site, which is kind of trying to document and emphasize what we have been looking at on the leaks. I myself is an avid Mavic lover. I've been using Mavic almost since the first inception of it. And if the leaks are correct, I think I will be replacing my current Mavic with this new one. The tipping point will be the pricing. But as we know, Mavic is the kind of top-level consumer series, and it has been increasing in its price from year to year when they launched the new ones. The current one that is out in the market is the version 3, which is giving us really, really good quality video and images. So if 4 is going to build on the shoulders of the previous ones and getting the pictures and everything, the type of increase that they tend to do for each version, it's going to be a really, really good drone. I think the tipping point will be the price.
Do I see virtual roller coaster rides coming? Guy Cochran.
Yeah, as somebody that bought the first Mavic, this is really exciting because the picture quality, since they bought Hasselblad, they've just been going up and up and up and up and up. And hats off to DJI for being able to pull this off. But it is a micro four thirds camera with 6K, 60 frames per second HDR. And then one of the biggies is that lens can go side to side, not just up and down. And then it's got an electronic ND. So instead of having to put the ND on before you lift off, so if you want to go from outdoors to indoors, if you're doing one of those crazy kind of shots, you can supposedly do the ND right on the electronic, probably on the remote control. Pricing looks insane, though. I mean, $28.99, I believe that's pounds. For the Fly More combo, that's kind of, you're getting up into some extreme territory if you're talking $3,000-$4,000 for one of these. And it's one of those things too, where are you going to fly and do you have your license? Because they've made it a lot tougher these days to be able to get great shots over cities and things like that. And you got to register these things. So if you're into this ball game, you might want to just hire somebody, because by the time you get to your pilot's license, your FAA clearance and all that stuff, it's easier just to hire somebody and have them take care of it.
Guy, Alex, you wanted to come back in.
I'll say, and it's more and more worth trying to get a license. I mean, I wouldn't do it if you're going to do it as a hobby, but the folks that get a license, there is so much content that they're out there shooting right now that we just used it I just used it in a corporate open, like just the whole. And we were using an Inspire RTK, but it was the idea though is that if you have the license and you know what the rules are and you can legally do it, it's not a bad business to be in. There's a lot of operators that I know that are pretty busy because a lot of things that used to be helicopter shots are now drone shots. Like it's not. It was a random thing. But as these cameras have gotten better, as the recording process has gotten better, it's not that they never use helicopters, but man, when I talk to people about like documentaries and establishing shots and everything else, a lot of them have moved to drones of some kind. They can get shots that they couldn't get with a helicopter. They can, especially, things that have to stay up a long time, like a car chase, helicopters are way better because they can stay up a lot longer. But things that like, I got to go shoot this one establishing shot, or I got to go do this one thing. A lot of times, wind is another thing where helicopters don't handle really high wind, but they handle a lot more than drones can. So those are other things that are there. But I have to say that after using an RTK drone, I'm kind of like, I don't think I could do a helicopter I couldn't have used a helicopter for what I shot it with. So I do think that that it's worth continuing to pay attention to. And if you're looking for a business model, the folks that I know that have drones are shooting, maybe not every day, but a couple of days a week.
Guy Cochran?
Yeah, for some of these shots, even for live, it's super impressive to get these angles that you just never would be able to get with a traditional camera unless you had a big lift or something like that. Jeff Keithley was at Laguna Seca over the weekend, and they had a couple drones out there, and being able to cut into the live to get these shots, because they ran 13,000 feet of fiber around the track, and that you still only got these 5 cameras around the track. I had all the feeds coming into here, and I could see all the camera angles, but still that drone would just come in, and they would go up and down. So if you pre-plan the moves, it looks really dynamic. You're just saying, okay, I just want you to slowly creep up and get an overview, or get a specific car and just follow that car. If the drone operator's really well versed, they can actually chase down that car, whoever's in the lead, and it adds so much more punch to the show to have these kind of shots. So again, hire it out and get a pro if you can, but if you're pitching a client, man, it's just an overwhelming value if you can get the pricing right and the clearance and everything. But Laguna Seca is one of those ones where they were cutting between the inside car angles as well. So talk about a great show. Instead of just having 5 cameras exterior, you got inside the car and you got overhead. So it just really made that stuff that could get boring after a few hours really have some punch.
Courtney?
Yeah, the LAPD now has gone to, they have a whole fleet of helicopters for police, for law enforcement. They're doing all those car chases we see endlessly on TV. But LAPD has started using drones and deploying them in the field, especially for surveillance. They're even using small drones, these FPV drones, to do reconnaissance inside buildings if someone is holed up in a building somewhere, a multi-story building, because they can go upstairs. They can't open doors yet, which is a problem with drones. But if it's an open area, a place they can get to, they can go in and surveil the place by launching that drone without risking life and limb. And it's pretty hard to shoot those little drones out of the air when they're flying them around inside a building.
Let's hit the next question.
Next one comes in from Alton Christensen in New York City. Which is considered the more reliable and recoverable RAID option for a DAS or NAS, Synology SHR, OWC Soft RAID, or other RAID software?
Ronnie?
I can have some comments about the different types of systems or strategies, but I would try not to get in too deep into the weeds about this. It could be an entire hour just discussing all these different pros and cons. What I would say is that it's not only the vendor that is important for recoverability. It's also about the RAID type. So if you're using like RAID 1, or if you're using RAID 10 or RAID 5 or even 6, all those has pros and cons, both for write speed, for read speed, for recoverability. It's easier to recover a RAID, a mirrored RAID, which have kind of 2 disks being entirely duplicated from each other. If one goes dead, you just put the other one in a machine that is working, and you have everything in a few minutes back up and running. So recoverability is really, really more a strategy, and if you are going with either one of these, just be aware that Synology has been kind of in a controversy in the latest or last weeks because of the way they are changing their licensing and the cost of using external or third-party hardware in their solution. So there's been a lot of discussion about Synology. We are in the phase where we are starting to fill up our current systems, and we are looking into easier ones that do not have all these features. But no, we are more into the functionality of the NAS disks itself, if they are running Docker and if actually it's a big server inside it or just a storage solution. And one of the things that appeared on my radar, it's still not probably going to be purchased by us, is this one from Ubiquiti, which is called UNAS. It's kind of looking like the Blackmagic solution. It has limited functionality for now. It has some cloud sync functionality to three of the most used cloud sync services. It has support for RAID 1, 10, 5, and 6, I think. So it's limited in functionality about how you set up RAIDs, but it can function with hot spares and being able to just convert from RAID 5 if you start with that and then add to RAID 6. It cannot use different size disks, or it can use different size disks, but it will max out to the max size of the smallest disk. So and also have it has an Ethernet 1 gig connection for Ethernet, and it also has an SFP for 10 gig transfer. So we're looking into different types of things, and these systems are relatively easy to recover from. So be sure to test whatever you are going for.
Kai, can you wrap us up?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that you just ideally don't even want to ever get to that phase where you're having to recover anything, because you just fall into a cold spare or a hot spare environment, and it just automatically goes into a lesser state while you rebuild that volume that's gone down. So do your research and listen to what Ronnie said. RAID 5 is a great format where you can have your cold spares, your hot spares on the fly, and just pull it out and pop in a new one. So like here I have cold spares ready to go, and I just put in a new one, and it rebuilds, but it does slow down your production, but better than having to go completely offline. So just be aware of your failure point.
That's our show for today. Thank you all for being a part of it. Thank you to our producers, everybody who put questions into this. You really do drive this show with your ideas, your thoughts, and your questions. So we appreciate the fact that you show up and do that every single day. To the panelists who provide their expertise, thank you all. That's really the heart and soul of why people watch this show, and we appreciate your contributing, each and every one of you. And to our amazing back-end crew, the faceless army of people. There's so many jobs you can't believe. I've been in a few meetings in the evening, and I'm just constantly amazed at meeting new people, even after I've been here for 5 years, who are in the back quietly making office hours run. And it's just a privilege to be associated with all of you. So back-end crew, thank you so very much. Our stats for today, the Talak Traversal, if you had to go around and get these answers from people individually, you've had to travel 12,000 miles today. That's 20,000 kilometers and 96 million bananas for scale. Don't forget, we have a show tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow.
What's the show tonight about?
We're doing something about Final Cut. I'm not sure if Chris is going to join me, but CJ is hosting, and I'm going to be his guest, and we're going to talk about some of the lesser-known pieces of editing magnetically.
There's the storyboard of Guy running through the street.
Oh,
Soldiers behind him.
I think I narrated that scene at some point in one of the books, in one of the sci-fis.
I just had to. I turned the weight down, said storyboard at the beginning, said style of sketch in the end, and so I got a little bit more. There's a there's a couple different not all but it's
everybody's running.
What a YouTube thing! I was like, what's the YouTube? Like every once in a while, you're like, what? There's
video.
There's that's just very
cool.
There's the hero
it's
shot.
very 15th century, but look, he's got a little thing in his ear. Like it saw your things. It was like, so it's like he